Colt und wir sind hier mit Homies, nämlich mit
Gisem and Lucia.
Yes, thank you very much for joining me on this couch today. Introduce yourself.
Yes, we are homies. We're a DJ team, and we organize parties. And yeah, basically that's what we do, right?
How did you two meet each other?
We met in school.
In
so
Berlin?
We know each other
Yeah, seventh grade.
since the 7th grade, yes.
Okay.
And we were also back then involved in music. But it was
Like
more,
how?
Yeah, we were like singing Mariah Carey songs and meeting up at the break and then just sing along. And
So you were already like very good friends.
yeah, we love music. Yeah, we were good friends.
Yeah.
And then how did you get into both of you DJ as well, right?
I was always interested in playing music. So I also, I don't know, I had Logic at some point and then I tried to make some beats and then...
Still do that today?
Yeah, not really because there's no time, but I really want to start soon because I feel like it's something I really miss. And then I had friends, I also lived in UK for a short period of time.
Where?
Whitechapel, that was my station.
Okay. Then we was neighbors then. I used to live in Aldgate, like Tower Bridge, and then I lived on Brick Lane.
Oh, nice! Yeah, that's my area.
From the ends, yeah? Okay.
I loved it so much. So
Amazing.
they had friends, they had the CDJs, and so they trained me to how to beat match without anything, without computer, just by listening. And then we chilled every weekend just listening to music and also producing something and trying to spin some music. So one was really good at it and the other were just kind of learning how to do it. And then I came back to Berlin and then at some point, I mean, we were always friends, but at that time, I don't know, she came and just said, okay, let's do a party.
Yeah.
So how did you just out of the blue approach her to start a party?
Well, I mean, kind of. It was more like I took it as a challenge because I attended a party and it was like supposedly centering around women and femininity, and then it was like all guys on the decks, and I approached them about it and I talked to them. I was like, why wouldn't you like even book one woman for the lineup, right? Because also like they were advertising their party with like Mariah Carey, Lil Kim, you know, like everything spoke to like a
How long
female
ago
audience.
was that?
That was like a little more than 2 years ago, or maybe a little more, 2.5 years.
So what was that reply to why they had no female acts booked?
Basically, the conversation we had didn't really go anywhere. They were like, yeah, but why does everything have to be so political and, you know, like that?
Well, that's the selling point of the party, isn't it?
I know, and that's why I was like, okay, no, if I want to do something myself, then I need to, like, you know, learn how to DJ. I didn't know a lot of female DJs at the time, so I kind of started, like, just playing around. My boyfriend is a DJ, and he taught me like the basics, and then I got my own controller, and then I started practicing at home, and I was like, okay, I know one female DJ, and that's her. And then I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do this with somebody, it's gonna have to be Lucia, because we've like known each other for so long and such a close friendship.
Yeah, it was the best decision.
Definitely.
So that's amazing. So how did the party come about, the first party?
The first party was actually in May 2017, and it was like a long time in the works. Like we started having the conversations around the party like beginning of 2017, and then we found a location, a very, very small venue.
But why? Did you just wake up and were like, listen, we gotta do a party?
I texted her. I was like, you know what? We should do a hip hop. Oh yeah, I should have mentioned that. It was a hip hop and R&B party, right? And then like centering around women, but involving no women. And so I was like, okay, there has to be a party, like a hip hop or R&B or, you know, dancehall, even all these genres, you know, all these urban genres that like focus on women who are like the marginalized people in that genre, in those genres, you know, because you don't see a lot of female artists in the playlist, for example. Also, like the way women are depicted in the music is problematic, and then Lucia was like, yeah, we should also make sure it includes like queer people, because that was like her scene basically. And so we were like, okay, it should be like a whole, like you know, ein ganzheitlicher approach, like a whole, holistic approach, exactly.
Okay.
And so yeah, that's why I texted her. I was like, okay, we should make sure to, you know, have a concept and like start planning it.
Yeah.
So so it's not only you playing at the parties, but also other people.
Yeah, sure, exactly.
And the lineup that you book, you put a focus on having a queer or bisexual or homosexual acts.
I think it's also, like, so we have a focus on women, but also on also queer people, trans people, but we also had men playing, but they were gay.
All right,
or queer,
Did you have any straight white males playing at your party so far?
No, because it's not that we're against them or we have any problems with them. It's just there are so many parties where there are white men playing music, and we thought there can be one party where there's a focus, and it's the same with the audience. It's not that we don't want to have men there, but it's not about them. It's a party where we want to put all the women in the center and all the people we just mentioned just a minute ago. So it's a party for them, and it's sometimes hard that people understand this.
Because I would guess that a lot of men, straight men or straight white men in that case, would feel offended and say, we feel discriminated against because we're not being included here. Right?
Exactly, that's what we
Some of them do. Some of them do support us. Like,
okay. No, I'm not saying
but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, like there are people who find the concept interesting. They want to interview us and stuff. So we've been in like pretty big news outlets in Germany, like Zeit Online, and the article, it's like a long read and, you know, very well written. And then there are like 500 comments, and like 400 of them are like white men, straight white men, complaining about having access to the space or something. And
but what
which
do
is
you
not
mean
even
by
true.
not access? What do they mean by not having access to the space? Is it that they get turned down at the door, or they just don't particularly get booked to?
Yes, because they don't
get booked, exactly. I mean, we did have a white man on the decks too, from Ratchet and from Berries, right? But they're queer, and so like they were like, anyways, like women in hip hop, that's like contradictory, and why do women even, you know, do something in hip hop when they're only, you know, objectified and, you know, sexualized and everything. And also, some of them were like, just go back in the kitchen and stuff like that. So, but that's like how you can see how people think about, you know, when women start something in hip hop, right?
And also how fragile their own
egos are.
Yeah, and their own, you know, way they define their masculinity,
Absolutely.
I guess, and their position within society and hip hop. It's very interesting. So I feel like very often when people do something that is innovative and sort of challenges the status quo, there's a lot of people who feel offended, who are, you know, afraid for no reason, because there's still 99 other parties happening the same night that you can go to if you feel discriminated against, which is sort of the point why you are doing what you're doing, because there are not a lot of events going on a daily basis that you can attend if you are, you know, from the LGBT scene, or if you are a woman, especially a woman of color, and that is a safe space for you. And I guess this is where a lot of people get that's why I'm looking toward the camera now, where a lot of people get the narrative twisted. It is not about excluding people, it is about creating a place, because a place that, you know, certain minorities, people can attend because they have no alternatives very often.
It's so good to hear that from you.
Yeah.
No, I'm just putting it together in my head. Like, this is how I understand it.
Yeah, but
that's good.
The way we thought about it.
Yeah.
It's not. We don't want to offend anyone. It's just that we wanted to create a space for certain people, so they can feel somehow safer or be just.
And it's not that these people can't attend the party. No. It's just that the focus of the lineup of the people you're booking is not on the typical type of people who would, you know, the straight black or the straight white guys. There would be the DJs usually, but you're putting the focus on DJs who don't get a chance very often to play somewhere else.
Yeah, and that's also, it's our party. It's also more a platform, so we also try to involve people who are maybe new to the scene or maybe also different genres. So we try to show different people. Also just to show that it's also diverse.
So when you plan your events, do you, I mean, it is you lot play there, you book obviously the lineup, but you basically deal with everything, right? From the business side, and you're the face of it. So how is it presenting this very forward-thinking, inclusive concept to, you know, nightclubs usually that are, I mean, especially hip-hop. Hip-hop is a genre that is supposedly made by people who are outsiders and outcasts, rejects of society, even though it is, you know, the biggest genre at the moment. But they are at the same time the most exclusive and discriminative sort of, you know, group of people. They're like, you wear these sneakers, you're whack, you're gay, then you're not allowed to rap, or you're, you know, you're a woman, then you should be twerking and not singing, and da-da-da. So how's it operating within that space when you are, you know, the face and the business? Do you face this same sort of stereotypes and etc. also on the business side as much as on the...
I mean, maybe not directly to our, like, in your face kind of thing, but more like indirectly. Because you see it when, like, they think that you play for, you know,
less money,
a dime, you know, like exactly.
Okay.
They offer you way less money than the male counterparts.
Do they do that, do you think, specifically because you are women, or maybe because you don't have the resume yet that somebody else would have?
I don't know. I can only assume.
Obviously.
Yeah, and
I think it's the industry itself, because
everybody's lowballing each other. You know?
And we try to be really fair. I mean, we try the best we can. It's not that we earn like, oh, we make a lot of money with the parties, because it's not really for mainstream, it's for a niche. So we, for example, the last party, we always have to make sure that it's still the place we created for our people, or for our people sounds so weird, but the people we just mentioned. So it's still somehow niche. So and
so like in the beginning it was difficult, like pitching it to clubs, because they didn't really believe in the concept. They were like, if you don't, they were like saying stuff like, if you don't involve men on the decks, I don't think it's gonna fly. So we're like, I think it is. And it did. So like at the first event we had like Einlassstopp, you know, like
so you reached maximum capacity.
Exactly. We were maxed out, and so this was like a kind of a middle finger, like straight in the face of those venue
proved them wrong.
bookers. Yeah, exactly. We proved them wrong. Second party was the same way, and then we had to expand. We had to look for like bigger venues, which is like a proof of, you know, it can work, and it does work, you know.
That there's demand.
Exactly, there's a demand.
So how does a safe space look like at a homies party? What can I expect if I attend this?
I wouldn't really speak of a safe space, because I think you can never guarantee that. You can only...
You can make an effort.
Exactly, you can make an effort to make it safer for certain people. And so what we do is we always bring our own bouncer. And she, like, because you don't want to be left with, you know, arbitrary people at the club. You know, we've had issues with that. So, like, we always have her with us, and she knows our audience, basically. And so... so this is like the first step, and then
so she selects who gets in,
selects,
who
exactly.
gets rejected.
And so she's also there for the ratio. Sounds weird, but
no, but it's necessary, you know.
We want to have more women, more queer people there than just straight.
Because they don't necessarily have places that they could go to otherwise whenever they get rejected at other doors.
I think it's maybe tough for the queer community to enter hip hop parties in general, because there are these standard dress codes, or I don't know, I don't know what kind of rules there are, but
unwritten rules.
Unwritten rules. We try to be open for them.
All right. So once one makes it through the door, past your bouncer, what can I expect next?
Okay, so like I think the vibe is very characterized by the music that is played, which like we try to have a focus on female and queer artists who are played that night. Cool. And also we try to like encourage the DJs we book not to play the most sexist stuff, right? So like, very degrading stuff towards women or homophobic lyrics and stuff like that.
Interesting. Especially when you talk about a genre like hip hop.
Yeah,
exactly.
For a long time, these things weren't considered sexist or degrading. It was like, on a 3-6 Mafia track or whatever it would be. And you have to put the culture obviously into perspective.
Of course. No, I do enjoy a Gucci Mane track. I do enjoy 3-6 Mafia and a lot of Juicy J. I think there's also a difference between sexist lyrics and sex positive lyrics. So
what's the difference there?
I think if you are in general objectifying women and like just picturing them as like bitches, stuff like that, they don't really have a personality or something, that's I think very sexist and like obviously not equal with the position that men have in hip hop. But if you talk about how much you enjoy sex and like, I don't know, very explicit, I like explicit lyrics as well. I like it when they talk about like sexual positions or whatever, what they're gonna do to each other, especially when it's like women and men on the same track,
Is there a lot of these sort of
There's like some of them. One of my favorite tracks is like Juicy J and Cardi B, Kama Sutra. I don't know if you know.
No, I don't know that track.
It's great. It's amazing. Yeah.
I'll check it out for sure.
Yeah, and so like stuff like that, I really enjoy it. And I think that's like okay to play. Also, like if you have this whole frame of, a party that celebrates queerness, that celebrates femininity, I think it's like different in that context. You don't play it in like a mainstream club where you kind of empower men to go for it, like to grab a woman or something like that. People know what to expect at our parties and they behave accordingly. And if something comes up, if something happens, we have an awareness team. So
also, apart from the normal security you have, what is
the normal security is just at the door.
They're just on the door, And
what is the awareness team? This is the first time I've heard that.
It's our A team.
Okay.
It's like people from the community who volunteer at our parties.
Okay.
So like they get free entry, they can drink and bring a friend.
It's just that they're there if there is
they're
something happening.
So what do they do? They wear like a certain shirt or a badge?
We had different things. We had like something which blinks. We had something like a t-shirt or t-shirts. We had like last time.
The sashes, It's like they just put
and
the
then
sashes
and then
on.
what if I get groped? I walk up to them and say somebody just harassed me.
Yes.
And then what happens?
And then they ask you what you want them to do. Like if you want them to approach the person, get them kicked out or whatever, or if you just want to talk about it, or if you maybe like just want somebody to like act as a buffer for a minute,
So
like
keep
just,
an eye on the person.
like so the person backs off,
Interesting.
So it depends on how a person wants to deal with
it's
the situation.
It's just that people know. I think it's important for us that people can be sure that they cases taken serious. So I think there are many cases where people just go to the security stuff and then they don't care, and it feels
I have a story to share. I was at a A$AP Rocky concert, sort of, like an influencer event type of thing where Rocky was performing. And I was standing there, and my friends went to the bar, and I was standing alone. And I've noticed a group of women constantly looking at me, and they probably knew who I was or whatever. And then I look towards the bar, and I see all of my friends are at the bar. And all of a sudden, I feel somebody touching my butt. And then I turn around real quick, and I see the girls running up. And they were like in their early 20s or mid 20s, whatever. And I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I thought it was, kind of funny, but then I felt kind of violated at the same time because I was like, yo, who gave you the right to touch my ass?
Right?
And I just think I found it funny in the first instance that somebody would do that to grab my attention because it is, happened here there where somebody would pinch me or whatever, but nobody went like boom to grab my ass.
Yeah.
But then I felt like, why did you grab me? Like, why didn't you come talk to me if you want my attention? What makes you think that I would be interested in you if you grab my ass? And then this whole
That's
thought
the same
process.
thing we always feel,
Yeah, and then that thought process started. You could see my brain working. The smoke coming out of it. And I started thinking to myself, damn, that's what my female friends experience probably on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And I felt really, really weird. And then another example was like whenever I perform, you know, at shows and at festivals, and there's like, you know, there's always a whole, the first few rows is always full of girls and women, and they get super excited and they're super touchy. And then there was one festival where I was standing on these barriers, right? And then I felt them touching my legs and stuff, which is, you know, that's calm. I'm used to that. And all of a sudden, I felt like about 3 hands touching my dick, my crotch, and I was like, "What is happening?"
No shame.
And I jumped down from the barrier, and I was like, "Yo, y'all gotta chill, like, you know." And now I'm here telling the story, and it sounds all funny, and everybody's laughing, but I seriously felt like, what makes you know, that. Like I don't wanna be, you know, sitting here and whining about it, because there's most certainly worse problems to have as a guy than women wanting, you know, to touch the crotch.
Yeah,
but still, it's like
boundaries, like.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking if some female artist would have stood there and somebody would have just grabbed their vagina, the narrative would have been totally different. And so like I understand why there's sort of a necessity for these sort of safe spaces, but I think the only reason why I full on understand it directly is because I've been exposed to these sort of experiences, and that is not due to me being a minority, but due to me being, you know, a person of public interest to a certain extent. And I'm not trying to sympathize with you know, these 400 comments that, you know, you get that are talking shit and feel discriminated against, but I think up until people are put in that position where they are the victim, they will never understand.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm not obviously hoping for everybody out there who has no sympathy and understanding of what you do and why you do it, that they become a victim. That's not what I'm saying at all. But like I understand why they don't understand it, and there needs to be some form of dialogue. And I'm not saying that is your mission. I think it is their job to educate themselves.
Exactly.
But you know, when people live in their bubble of comfortability, and I am the one, and you know, when I went to school, I had classmates saying, "Oh, racism doesn't exist." And I'm like,
you know, but that's why it's so important to tell these stories, to like listen to the people who tell them, because you don't have to make the first-hand experience to know that it hurts somebody else. You can just show empathy towards them. I mean, I don't experience racism against Black people, but I still like I know it exists, and I know how like it must feel really bad, you know.
The important thing about, I feel also about this conversation and what you lot are doing, is that this is not about pointing fingers and saying, "Ooh, we're victims and we're victimizing ourselves." No, it's the opposite. It is about empowerment and empowering your voice, your narrative, and your role within society. And if there was nothing wrong with the way our society is, even down to the point when it comes to fucking celebrating a nightlife, there wouldn't be a necessity of your parties. You know what I mean? Like, if there was no discrimination against LGBT people or women not feeling safe at parties, nobody would attend your parties. But because, so you're not creating a narrative where there is no problem. You are addressing a serious issue that has been around for decades, and obviously other people are addressing it too, but you're just maybe doing it in a more successful or more you know, vocal way or whatever. But yeah, it is a very, very necessary approach that you have, and yeah, I want to thank you on behalf of society. But but like hands down, I completely understand why people feel drawn, you know, to what you lot do, and it's like when it comes to my music, for example, it's like I'm a straight, mixed race guy, however you want to put it, but it's like there's certain expectations people usually have of rappers, Black rappers, and you know, all that sort of stuff, and I don't sit down and say, "Listen, I'm gonna break up the stereotypes people have and the barriers that are within hip hop and of the straight Black man or whatever." But people still feel that way just because I'm not bowing down to what people expect my music to be like, or how I should conduct myself, how I should speak, how I should dress, how I should, like, my manager is a woman, my tour manager is a woman, my mom is an integral part of my business. Like, you know, it's like I work with so many women, and so many women make decisions, very crucial, important decisions, and occupy roles that are traditionally taken by men. And it's very interesting when I would rock up at like a festival or wherever with my manager, and my dad is sometimes also the security that travels with us, because you know, he has all the security badges and whatever. And it's like they straight up walk up to him and be like, "Oh, it's so nice to meet you," thinking that he's my manager. And then, you know, my manager Lena, she's like, "No, I'm the manager." And then they're like, "Oh, well, you know, I'm sorry." And it's very interesting because even women do that. They straight up walk to my dad, and they don't do that obviously to degrade my woman, my manager who's a woman, but society has conditioned them that way. And I think events like yours break up that sort of conditioning.
Yeah, we try to make this, to draw attention to these topics. So to question gender roles, or also society. We were also thinking about starting a podcast so we can issue more of these kind of topics. And I think, that's the most thing. The most you can do out of a party, right? Draw attention to certain issues and topics. And,
totally. And I saw a video of you at a performance where you brought up a couple women from the audience on stage and, like, you know, celebrating them, kind of.
That was in Heidelberg. I brought all the mothers.
Oh, the mothers,
stage. Yeah, all the mothers on stage.
I thought that was, like, really, really cute. It's like a really small gesture, you know, but it shows people who like you, for example, or like who follow you, who enjoy your music, like that you take this stance, you know, and it sets a good example for other men. And because, like, just like you said it, sexism doesn't affect everybody, and so, like, not everybody deals with it, but then maybe sometimes when they see stuff like that on your channel, it's like the first time that they interact with you know, gestures from men towards women, like men who use their privilege to praise women and like not put them down like women are used to. And I think stuff like that is really good. Like, it's setting impulses. Yeah.
Thank you. No, but there's this contradictory narrative within hip hop where, like, all rappers and men are like, "Oh, I did this for my mom, and you know, my mom is my everything." But then at the same time, they're like, "Oh, all women are bitches, all women are hoes," and blah blah blah. And it's like, I understand what you're saying, and there are obviously women out there who do quite very questionable things, same way that there are men out there who do very questionable things. It takes two to tango, as you know, wie meine Oma so gerne sagt, nicht? But it's like, it's so weird, man, because you be talking about somebody else's mom. You know, it's like, you know, you have guys out there saying, "Oh, my baby mama ain't shit, she doing this, she doing that, but then I love my mom," and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, but she's the mother of your child, so
respect her.
You know, and then, and I know there are, you know, again, women out there who on purpose get, you know, pregnant or whatever to trick people. But it always, it's a very two-sided thing, and but the mainstream narrative is very one-sided.
Yes.
So it's also people think we just pro women and we want them to be like
sanctified.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Preferred.
Yeah.
Or we defend them no matter what, but still we still see they're good people and bad people, and there's no gender when it comes to this. So it's not that we defend everything no matter what. So we still see they're good people and we support them as well. And then it's not that we say all women are right and they never did anything.
No.
And that's what sometimes people think.
They mistake that.
Yeah, they mistake that.
So again, they mistake you empowering women and LGBT community for you trying to sanctify them and create a narrative that is not true. So they get it twisted somehow.
Just that the responsibility has grown a lot. So at the beginning we were just two people doing a party, and then it just came that we are two people, or the face of a community, which is a big community, and the responsibilities. So we can't really come up to everything they expect from us, because we're still two individuals, and even if we are two and if we are homies, we still have different opinions on certain things. So our values are still the same, but still we have different approaches. And
it's interesting. So I have a friend of mine who works a lot with nudity and the female body, especially. He's a photographer, and we had this discussion also about, for example, displaying the female nipple, right? And it's like, if we would sit topless next to each other, my picture wouldn't get censored, yours would get censored, and I feel that's like sort of the key example already of how, where there's a discrepancy, a difference in how we rate and how much nudity we tolerate from each gender. Yeah, man, it's such a big fucking topic.
Yeah, it's a big topic, right? But we should question it more.
Yeah.
Because why is it that we would be censored and you wouldn't, you know? Somehow it makes no sense.
But I guess a cultural.
Yeah, it's cultural.
Thing,
of
right?
course it is cultural. But why do we make so many this big difference between men and women and the body features? Yeah. I mean, it should be all natural. It should be something. It's like kind of so natural that we don't. I don't know. There's no something special to see. Maybe a naked woman or some women that are breastfeeding their child. It shouldn't be such a big
scandal,
thing.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's the problem. Like, society is trying to tell us which way is acceptable to present yourself as a woman, especially. And the problem is that different things empower different people, right? So like some women might feel empowered by being nude. Some women feel empowered by the opposite, covering themselves up, you know? But both of them are like criticized. And like in both scenarios, it's like patriarchal society telling you, you know, this is not acceptable, this is not acceptable.
If we get down to the bottom of it, and excuse my French here, but like pussy runs everything. If you get down to it, because men very often who are, you know, obsessed with making money, gaining power, very often it is to impress women. Every man does, or like loads of men go through loads of crazy shit to end up somewhere naked with a woman. But then when a woman displays her body naked, she gets shamed for it. And it's very contradictory.
But yeah, I mean, this is also what Homies stands for. So we don't want anyone to shame women on the way they maybe enjoy themselves or enjoy sex.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a constant threat, right? Like in school back then, like you just didn't want to be named like slut or something like that, you know? So it was an aspect that controlled lots of us, I think, in the youth, for example. I mean, now I don't care what people say, but it's like when you're growing up and you're a teen and like your self-value basically depends on also like how others see you, stuff like that, you know? Then it's like really, really, you know, hurtful to be called that as a girl, you know?
But that was always, I think, more important for women. I think even if you read down on history, her reputation was always so important for women. What people were saying.
Because it had effects for women. It didn't have effects on men, you know?
No,
but it doesn't exist.
Well, it did have an impact on men, but it was a positive impact.
Yeah.
That would be the hero.
It was like not no repercussions, you know, like that. Yeah, exactly. So that's why I think for women it's like, okay, if I get stripped privileges or something like that, if I get called a slut or if everybody thinks that. So also that's why we picked the name Homies, you know, because on the one hand it's like homie, you know, like my friend, my homie. That's what we stand for, like as a, you know, we want to encourage the community, blah blah.
Mhm.
And also the whole part is like just reappropriating something that is a term concept that's like used to shame women and like to control their sexuality, their bodies.
You're embracing that term.
Exactly, we're embracing it. We're trying to take the power away from it by like kind of ridiculing it as well, right?
So embrace
But
your...
also make people maybe start thinking about it, how and what kind of ways it affected you maybe.
Amen. So embrace your inner hoe, embrace your
Yes.
wholeness, turn up with homies. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having us.
This conversation. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Love.
Embrace our
Yeah, I like that.
That
Embrace
should
your
be a new slogan.
Yeah.
I want 5%. No. Sorry, love. Thank you.